Here's the thing. You have to choose, is it going to cost me convenience or my health?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to escape one of those things. Is it inconvenient to have to go inside a grocery store and put together a lunch? 100%. But I would rather do that. And this adds up, right? Now, if I have to eat at a Wendy's one time a year or something, it's like, who cares? That's not going to hurt you. But the problem is that the average American is not going to Wendy's one time a year. They are going and they're eating fast food multiple days and meals a week.
Welcome back to Gen Z Unplugged. We have an amazing interview with Alex Clark, the host of Turning Point USA's Culture Apothecary. She is bringing so much wisdom about how to be healthy while you travel, how to be healthy on a daily basis. And she has some really beautiful words about Charlie Kirk as well. You all are going to love this interview with Alex. Enjoy. Alex, thank you so much for coming on Gen Z Unplugged today. I know it's been a horrifying past month and a half, 2 months. I mean, the headlines have just been one thing after another. And then, of course, your boss, truly an American hero, martyr for Christ, being assassinated a month ago yesterday. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today, Alex.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was really important to Charlie to obviously speak to Gen Z, and we've got Gen Alpha on the come up. So there's still a lot of work to be done. I know he would not want us, giving up yet.
That's right. I want to know a little bit about your story, though, before even joining with POPlitics, starting POPlitics at Turning Point USA, really being now the Maha Queen. All of the ladies in the room just got to hear you speak, and they're so excited for what you're doing in the Maha world. But how did you get started in the first place? Because you didn't start off with making America healthy again. It was a little different. Where did you really, I guess, get your start in the news journalism realm? Like, what's your story?
So I started in radio when I was 18 years old. I ended up dropping out of college and getting a full-time position on a pop radio morning show in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was there, and then I went and co-hosted my own morning show in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I was in radio for about 7 years before switching over and leaving that to come to Turning Point USA to build a show with Turning Point. And so I was always openly conservative, grew up in a conservative Christian home, always talked about my beliefs. It was never a problem until Trump became president, and then all of a sudden it was like super, you were like a domestic terrorist if you were a Trump supporter. So then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm probably going to lose my job for my views eventually, because I was in constant trouble for stuff I would talk about on the air. Just, when you're doing pop morning radio, it's like, you're talking about your personal life, your relationships, all these things. And so when I'm giving relationship advice or talking about, my personal life, it's all stemming from a certain worldview. Like, that's inevitable for all of us. We all have a worldview where things are coming from and our decision making is coming from. And so it was very obvious that I was conservative and a Christian. And my very, very liberal media company that I worked for did not like that. I think they had like a framed poster of Obama even in our offices. I was like, it was a very, very urban radio company. So I was like one of the only white people that worked in the entire company. So I was like already a minority, but everybody was very liberal. And that was difficult. People did not know how to take me. And I could just kind of see the writing on the wall that either I was going to have to censor myself and shut up and stop sharing my views, or leave. And so I kind of started planning my escape route, and Turning Point swooped in at the right time, said they'd love to work with me. I pitched an idea for a show, which was my first show. It was all about pop culture and entertainment news, called POPlitics. And then that eventually, over the course of 6 years now, has transitioned into Culture Apothecary, which is my long form interview podcast. I interview experts around the world on health and wellness, physical, emotional, and spiritual health.
It's such a good show. I'm such a huge fan. My mom, because I've started putting beef towel on my face and doing all the crunchy, bizarre things. My parents were like, "This is not you. Where did this come from?" And I was like, Alex Clark. So you can think
you're awake now.
I was awake. So yeah, it's kind of going off that same concept. Was there one specific health piece, or was it vaccines? Was it food? What was the thing that sparked your interest in kind of the Maha movement in the first place?
Well, first it was them mandating the vaccine and telling us if you don't take this, you're not going to be able to participate in public life. You're not going to be allowed to go into certain restaurants or go to certain events. And I thought that was deeply disturbing and wrong, tyrannical. Didn't agree with that. And I had never thought anything about pharma, vaccines. I was like, oh, my kids will be vaccinated. My kids, I had until the pandemic, I had no opinion on homeschool, on health, on vaccines, nothing. My life completely changed. Once they did that, I started going down the rabbit hole looking into, okay, has the FDA ever been wrong before on, a recommendation for a drug or telling us that something that was safe and effective? The answer was yes, and it was Oxycontin, which was a painkiller, a pain pill that came on the market in the late 90s and is responsible for starting the opioid epidemic. It was an opioid. They told us it was the first non-addictive opioid. That was a lie. They knew it was a lie. They knew it was killing people. They didn't care because they were raking in billions and billions of dollars at Purdue Pharma, the distributors of Oxycontin. And so when I found out about that story and started looking into the heritage, foundation of the opioid crisis, I realized, okay, these people have been wrong before. We have no idea what's in this current vaccine. I think people need to be made more aware. And once you start going down the pharma rabbit hole, it leads you to the food rabbit hole and the agriculture rabbit hole. And so big chemical, it never ends. And these were all industries that I think conservatives before did not really pay attention to. These were definitely more liberal issues to care about these topics and food and raw milk and vaccines. It was Hollywood liberals who were not vaccinating their children. It was not conservative Christians. That just wasn't the case. Yeah. So it's just funny to me how the media never had a problem with these things when it was some lib celebrity doing it. But as soon as we started talking about it, we're like, oh, okay, you guys were actually right on this. For the first time ever, the left was right on something. We're willing to come to the table and meet you in the middle here. And then they completely abandoned us and said, you guys are radical extremists. Yeah. So somebody is not standing on principle. It's not us. Conservatives are willing to evolve and change with more information. The left just continues to get more and more radically left. And so that's super concerning. It should be if you're on the left.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about birth control, but I want you to actually talk about that since this is kind of up your alley.
My alley, yeah.
I want to talk about Charlie for a second, go back to Charlie and working for him. What was that like? For people who've never met Charlie Kirk, maybe they saw him speak at an event, or maybe they've never even gotten to hear him speak. They didn't get to experience that, but they watched the memorial for the first time. They're watching his videos now. I've heard so many stories from people who were weeping when they heard that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, even though they had never watched a video prior to the assassination, but they realized how deep this was. This was more than politics. This was more than just an individual being assassinated. This is a man who was sharing the gospel within 2 minutes of his life being taken. So what was it like working for Charlie Kirk? Just for the audience that maybe just has no idea what it's like working for Charlie Kirk.
Well, he's exactly behind the scenes who he was publicly. There was no difference. The Charlie you saw is the Charlie I saw. And he was really funny. I'd say you probably saw him in more serious settings, but he had a really great sense of humor. And he is was the hardest working person I have ever met. And he didn't expect anything of you that he wasn't willing to do himself. So if it was like waking up at 3 a.m. for a Fox News hit, Charlie Kirk also was willing to wake up at 3 a.m. for a Fox News hit. It wasn't, I'm going to do one thing, I'm the boss, I never have to show up, I never have to be involved. He was deeply involved in every single aspect of Turning Point USA. Every single financial decision was approved or denied by him. There was nothing going on that Charlie Kirk did not know of or did not approve. That just wasn't the case. And he was so proud of the Charlie Kirk show. He absolutely loved that. He loved doing campus events the most. I think that brought him the most joy, especially in the last year when those started absolutely blowing up. He was really starting to finally come to terms with how famous he had become, and he was not used to that level of fame. He'd always been famous, but this is on another level. You know what I mean? Like a political A-lister. Yeah. And so, security had ramped up a lot for him. And he just really, his time was split in I'm either working or I am with Eric and the kids. There was no, he did not waste time. He didn't just sit around and dilly-dally and watch Netflix. He didn't even watch TV hardly ever. I feel like he's watched 2 shows in his life. He doesn't watch TV. He doesn't waste time. Every single minute of every single day was accounted for.
Wow, that's so amazing. And that's exactly what we see from the outside. And so it's it's super sweet to hear from the inside that's exactly what he was like too. So that's the impression we have. And I know that a few days after he was assassinated, you went online and said, I encourage everybody to buy an American flag in honor of Charlie. And that's kind of like one of those short-term things we can do to honor his legacy. What is something that we as conservatives, and especially Gen Z conservatives, can do really practically to honor his legacy and carry it on?
Go to church, a Bible-believing, sound church, share the gospel. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. I've been like, every date I've been on this year, I feel like I just end up sharing the gospel. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's super important. Being politically involved, and that means not just posting on social media, like you need to be knocking doors. So with the midterms coming up, for example, you've got to get involved in either Turning Point Action, which is our sister organization, and figure out in your state, in your area, where you can be knocking doors and making sure that you don't have to debate a liberal, you're knocking doors on other registered Republicans, and you're being like, hey, you are going out and voting, right? We need you, Charlie needs you. So that's all you're doing. That is so incredibly impactful, and Charlie was desperate to get more people willing to door knock. That is so easy. It takes like 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon or something. Very, very simple way to honor his legacy and support the work that Turning Point USA is doing, and all it costs is your time.
We're definitely seeing a shift right now. It's really encouraging. I always think it's prophetic. I don't know if this is Rob McCoy or someone. I think it was a pastor that brought this up first. But it is. I mean, the fact that Charlie Kirk at 18 years old founds this organization, Turning Point USA, and then right now we're seeing a turning point, truly. I mean, people that I've never thought in a million years would ever start a Turning Point chapter or post something political on their social media or even go to church. I mean, people that we've been praying for years, that my family's been praying for years, and people that I know, they're like, I have been praying for this person for 20 years, that they would come to church, that they would accept Christ as their Lord and Savior. And after Charlie Kirk's assassination, they realized how precious time is, and realized that this is more than just, the life that's passing through. It's like a vapor, right? It says that in Ecclesiastes, and that we have to focus on the eternal perspective and what is eternal life going to look like? And that's exactly what Charlie Kirk understood. And I do kind of see like a shift, even with Turning Point in the last few years. I don't know if you've seen this, but since marrying Erica and like him talking about family, because he's always talked about family, but it's become even more special to him, I feel. And I'm curious from your perspective, have you seen that shift? Because you've worked for Turning Point for 6 years?
Yep.
6 years. Have you seen a shift? Because I guess they got married in 2021, so like 4-ish years ago. Have you kind of seen a shift in Charlie really prioritizing faith, family, freedom within the last few years of being married and having a family himself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first got hired, it was definitely more politics. And then in the last, 2 years or so, it really became all about sharing the gospel. Like, that's mostly what he wanted to talk about, what he enjoyed talking about with people. And then, yeah, talking about the benefits of getting married, having children, encouraging young men and young women to not put that off. And I really think that comes down to subconsciously. I think deep down somehow he must have known, like, I'm not gonna have a lot of time here. So I wanna get married, I wanna have kids, I wanna build this organization to the best of my ability, the biggest that it can be while I can. There's no other explanation to me for his sense of urgency on all of this and the fact that he did not waste a minute. So that to me says something that like somehow deep down I feel like he may have even had an inkling like maybe I'm gonna die young. I don't know, because I don't know how you explain that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just remarkable everything that he did, and the timing. I don't know. It's just, yeah, like you said, it's prophetic. I want to backtrack to kind of talking about health a little bit. So on your podcast, you have all these amazing people who give amazing advice, and I know that you truly practice what you preach, which is very difficult. And I think people's biggest concern is like, well, how do I travel and still eat well? Or how do I do this when I'm at a friend's house or at family house? So what do you do? How do you actually make it happen?
That's a good question. It is tough when you travel a lot. So one thing is wherever I'm going, I always find out what farm to table or organic seed oil free food options there are restaurant wise.
Wow.
So any city, and now we travel so much, I kind of have it down. Like I know in LA where I'm going, I know in DC where I'm going, I know in Miami where I'm going. So I kind of do some research and I figure that out. I always pack snacks with me. So my team knows I'm obsessed with these little tin fish bean things from Wild Planet. I love these little tins. It comes with like tuna, and then you get like corn and beans or something. It's really good. You don't have to warm it up or anything. You just eat it like that. And it's like, 22 grams of protein or something in and of itself. Fiber, it's great. So I take that. I always have electrolytes on me. Other snacks. Right now this is not healthy. It's a healthier option, but I'm obsessed with the Justin's peanut M&Ms. It's like the cleaner, non-dye version of a peanut M&M.
So good.
Obsessed with, I keep like 6 bags with me at all times. I eat like a bag a day. That's not health advice, by the way. It's just real advice. So I do my best. When I'm home, I am cooking at home almost exclusively, unless it's a special event or a date or a friend dinner or whatever. I eat at home. And if there's no food options on the road, I'm going to a grocery store. I was just driving like middle of nowhere, Northern California, Redwood area, to this little airport in Oregon a couple days ago, and there's like nothing around there to eat. We went to the grocery store and we got like meat and cheese and crackers and healthier options or whatever of all those things. But that's what you do. If you can't find anything, I'm going to a grocery store before I'm going to a Wendy's or a Burger King or something.
Right. Yeah, that's super helpful.
You have to be intentional. Yeah, you have to.
It is intentional. Here's the thing. You have to choose, is it going to cost me convenience or my health?
Yeah.
It's not, you're not going to be able to escape one of those things. Is it inconvenient to have to go inside a grocery store and put together a lunch? 100%. But I would rather do that. And this adds up, right? Yeah. Now, if I have to eat at a Wendy's one time a year or something, it's like, who cares? That's not going to hurt you. But the problem is that the average American is not going to Wendy's one time a year. They are going and they're eating fast food multiple days and meals a week. So when people say like, well, everything in moderation, you're not eating in moderation. True moderation for bad food is like what I do, like 2 Dr. Peppers a year, okay? That is true moderation, but that's also, I know that's really difficult for the average person. So you have to plan ahead. It is going to be inconvenient to meal prep on a Sunday and make your meals, or pack a lunch before you go to work and bring your own food to work instead of door dashing to the office. Like, these are things that you have to think about, or wait and cook at home. But you are going to pay at some point. It's going to be in hospital bills, or it's going to be with your time making meals at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's you pay now or you pay later, right? Because people are so concerned about the expense of it. But I'm like, you're probably saving hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's not expensive to eat real food. If you want to go on another level and do grass-fed, grass-finished beef, organic, regenerative stuff, that is pricier 100%. But that's not required to eat healthier. Yeah. You can eat, now, if you can afford it, absolutely go for the grass-fed, pasture-raised, eggs, all that. But if all you can eat, you are on a major budget or you're in college, eating real food, so eggs, rice, beans, chicken breast, ground beef. It doesn't have to be grass-fed or organic. Just eat real food. Just don't eat Taco Bell. Don't eat the seed oil fried crap in the food court on campus. Make your own food in your dorm. There are things that you can buy to do that. Don't use plastic water bottles. Get a reusable Stanley or something like that, or a glass. A glass is even better. Cook in your dorm and keep those things on hand, like filtered water, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like so super intense. You can make it as intense or elaborate or as expensive as you want, but really all that's required, I would say, to be healthier is eat real food, make sure you're getting ample sunlight, which I struggle with immensely. So I'm not telling you I'm perfect on the sunlight part. It's hard. I'm always like in filming things like this all day long in artificial light, but waking up at the sunrise, going outside at sunset, taking those walks, getting that infrared light, and then having your windows open for at least 20 minutes a day, no matter the weather. If you can just do 20 minutes and get that fresh air in your house. Our house or apartment or dorm or whatever is totally polluted with the fragrance that is in our products, the chemical cleaning products we use, which stop using those. But you need to get that fresh air, and it's actually way less polluted outside than it is inside right now. So that's important. Take your shoes off at the front door when you walk in the house. It's super important. These are easy, free things, okay? It's not that complicated. It's back to basics. This is like literally what your grandma used to do.
That's right. It's interesting. Someone told me, actually, this is my holistic doctor. She told me one time, she goes, Hannah, you can travel the country, you can speak on stages and do podcasts and all of that, but if you don't have health, like what do you have? Like if you can barely walk up on the stage, or you're getting sick all the time and having all of these health issues, like what does freedom even mean to you if you don't even have the freedom to live freely, like, and to speak up about what you believe in. And Charlie did understand that. Obviously that was very much so, you could see that reflected in his life. And I did see, I think actually Benny Johnson's wife had responded to this, because someone said, why would you take care of your health if you knew you were only going to live for 30 years? I don't know if you saw any of those comments. Like, people were kind of bashing the Maha movement, being like, oh, well, it's pointless if you're only going to live 30, 50, 60 years of your life. You're not going to live till 90, and that's not what it's about. So I would
first of all, we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, we don't know how much time we have. We don't know if it's 12 years or if it is 90. Yeah. So that's one. Two, we were given this body as a gift from God. We are supposed to be stewards and caretakers of our body, because this is not ours, it is His. So how are we, if you are completely trashing your body and you're not taking care of yourself, and you allow yourself to become 600 pounds on TLC fused to your bed, how are you going to go out there and proclaim the gospel and do work for the kingdom if you can't leave your bed? How are we going to do this work if we're literally not able, because we're too sick, we're riddled with brain fog, we can't think? You can't do your this work to further the kingdom. You could never do, Charlie could have never accomplished what he did if he lived a different life, health-wise. Because he never drank, he did not drink alcohol. Because he ate healthy and fueled himself, he was able to go at the caliber he was able to go. If Charlie Kirk lived off McDonald's and was constantly binge drinking, Turning Point USA would not be what Turning Point USA is. That is a fact. That is a fact. And you know how I know that? Because 99% of America lives that way, and Charlie was the 1%, and look what Charlie built and look what everybody else is doing.
That's right.
Speaks for itself.
Why do you think churches and Christians don't take health seriously? What is our problem with the church? And it's always
because
like
the
pizza
church
for the church event.
Yeah, the church enables it. I did a great episode with this guy, Matthew Gay. He is somebody he's a Christian guy who starts like fitness groups for churches and goes to churches and teaches them about health and how to completely transform the body of Christ with what we eat and how we take care of our bodies and how important that is. And that episode is incredible. It came out in March of this year, so I would go back and listen to it. But the church is enabling a lot of these issues. You've got pastors that are on stage, joking about how their pants won't button and stuff like that. I mean, it is a sin. Also, let me tell you something else from a Christian perspective. How is your witness helped? I'm not saying a fat person or an unhealthy person can't share the gospel. Please don't mishear me. But how is your witness helped if you're telling people you need to be diligent, you need to be self-disciplined, right? These are all different traits of a Christian man or woman, and yet you are not self-disciplined enough to like take care of yourself. Yeah. That's a huge problem. Okay? So I think encouraging the body of Christ and, not setting them up to stumble. Sugar addiction, ultra processed food addiction is just as serious as heroin. It is so addictive. My dad was dying of a brain tumor because he was addicted to ultra processed food, and after leaving the hospital, after removing his brain tumor, he wanted to go to Chick-fil-A and Pizza Hut. This is an addiction that we cannot comprehend, and when the church is knowing that there are going to be people like that in your church body, and you're setting out fried chicken from KFC and all of this, you're not setting up your congregation to succeed. You're setting them up for failure. If you knew that you had alcoholics in your congregation, are you going to be setting out alcohol? If you know that you have somebody struggling with pill addiction, are you going to set out a big bowl of pills and say take one? Like, no. So why do we not treat food the same way?
Such a good point. That's just one of the biggest issues. Why don't we consider gluttony a sin? It's such a huge problem. So something too that you've talked about, I think you mentioned this on Allie Beth Stuckey's show, is that millennial women were unconsenting subjects to birth control. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one thing with my generation was 12 to 15 years old. I don't know what the heck was going on, but like clockwork, we would go to the pediatrician's office around that age. They'd ask us about how our periods were going or if we're struggling with acne or anything. And no matter what we said, it'd be like, oh, well, you should be on birth control. That will help with that. Whether it was acne, whether it was painful periods, severe cramping, irregular periods, they were like, just be on birth control. You don't need to understand your cycle. It's too complicated. The birth control pill will do it for you. That was it. You're 13 years old, somebody in a white coat with a medical degree is telling you should do this. Like, you don't know how to advocate for yourself or ask more questions. You trust that the medical expert knows what's best and you're just going to do what they say. We're all put on this pill, and nobody tells us that it was meant to be taken temporarily, not long term. We're on it for a decade plus. Then we're trying to get pregnant and eventually, as we have a family and want to have kids, and then we're realizing, well, I can't get pregnant. What's going on here? Oh, come to find out, the birth control pill was a Band-Aid, and it actually masked hormonal issues that were going on inside of you. If you are struggling with severe acne, if your periods are irregular, if they're super light, if they're super heavy, if they're super painful, if your PMS is super severe, these are all signs your body is telling you something is going on, whether that's PCOS, endometriosis. Endometriosis left untreated for years and years and years can get worse and worse and then could leave you infertile. So the birth control pill has hurt women, I think, so much more than helped, because so many of us were not given informed consent. We were not told that it could increase your risk of developing an autoimmune disease, by the way, over 230%. And it also mixes up who you're attracted to. Yeah. In a man, you're attracted to a more feminine looking guy, somebody that looks more like your genetic cousin than like an opposite, like stranger man or whatever, however you want to say that. It's really bizarre. And then we wonder why everybody's gender confused. And I'm being hyperbolic when I say this, but I'm like, the fact that it makes women more attracted to people that are more feminine, I'm like, I think this has a lot of repercussions, but I can't go down that hole or I'm going to get written up again by BuzzFeed and whatever. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking at this matter of factly. And I think so many women, if they were told the truth about the pill early on, they would have said like, okay, I'd rather know how to track my cycle. Oh, I can only get pregnant a couple days out of the month. Well, that's good to know. I don't really need to be on this pill, every single day when I can only get pregnant a handful of days anyway. And also there's other natural options for things like acne or, regulating your period.
Mm-hmm. It's really sad. And even too with acne, I mean, so many young people I know will go to their dermatologist and they're like, get on Accutane. You need this. Yeah. It's really helpful. And so many young people I know, young girls, that are in high school, so many issues, complications have come from being on Accutane for extensive amounts of time.
There's massive class action lawsuits against Accutane, how it has totally screwed up people's health. It's very, very disturbing. So.
It is. Well, okay, so you always ask a question at the end, and I don't know if you want to get into birth control.
No,
but
you're good. Go for it.
You always ask a question at the end of every podcast on Culture Apothecary. If you could heal a sick culture in one way, is it physically, emotionally, and spiritually? I think those are the three that you always ask, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What would that be for you? And since Charlie Kirk's assassination, has that changed in any way?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, depending on the moment, my answer changes for that. I think right now my answer is getting comfortable sharing the gospel. That is, Charlie was he was like strategically surrounding himself with people to challenge him and help sharpen him on this, brushing up on theology, always in the word, which is something all of us can do better about, especially me. And I think that's been something that I've been like, oh, I need to practice more on that. And like, it can be really uncomfortable to do that. And so I'm learning to get better at that. And the only way you can get better at it is if you do it. That's right. So you got to practice on somebody.
Yeah, and I always think that God will give you the words to say, or he'll prepare that situation for you. You don't have to be, perfectly equipped. Obviously it helps to gain, but I think people are so nervous that they're not going to have the words to say. We just need to trust God more with those situations too.
And you can always say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I'd love to get back with you on that. You do not have to know everything to be able to talk about your faith. And also conservative politics, it goes both ways. Like, you know how many times I get asked something, I'm like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about, but I'd love to look into it. And then I'll tell you what I think once I look in, but I don't know. It's okay to be honest and say that you don't know something. I think that's a lot better than lying and then pretending like you know and then saying something stupid. So, I have a mic and a camera on me at all times. Like, I would rather just say I don't know. Yeah. And I would say, reading more. I know it's really easy when you have 30 minutes to just scroll, but just if you have a book in your purse at all times and you can be like, okay, I'm going to read one chapter for this 30 minutes instead of doom scroll. Obviously, we're all on Instagram. I couldn't do my job without Instagram, but taking that time, giving your eyes a break, from blue light and everything, and just regulating your nervous system in that way by reading or going outside for a little sun break is really, really healthy for women's hormones.
I'm glad you brought up reading, because that was something, I didn't know Charlie as much as you did, but the last time that I was with him, he encouraged the group of people in the room to read more, to do more research, to find out like a lot of the things that you're talking about. Because unfortunately, even in like the influencer realm or like the content creation world, a lot of people kind of fake it until they make it. They don't really read. And it was really interesting, like in the room, just to see the atmosphere, because people were like, oh, I don't remember the last time I read a book. And then here you have Charlie Kirk. He's like, listen, like you're not going to be able to combat these people on college campuses to have these hard conversations if you aren't learning constantly. And sometimes in the conservative movement, but in politics in general, and really in any sphere, I mean, you've probably seen this in multiple spheres in life, where people reach a certain point and they're like, I'm too good for this. I don't need to do any more research. I've learned all that I can learn. And that's something I really admire about you as well, now getting to know you a little bit more even on this podcast, from Charlie, is that he never reached a point where he's like, I'm done. Like, I've researched enough.
He clearly could have. Yeah. He clearly could have been like, I'm good. I don't need to read another book, whatever. He was a genius, and so knowledgeable, and just had amazing memory and knew every stat. And it was like mind blowing to be around him. But yeah, you're never going to know enough in this world. You're never going to know enough scripture. You're never going to, know enough about the current political climate. It's constantly shifting. I mean, oh my gosh, the conservative movement today is a completely different conservative movement than it was 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Completely different. Like the things that we care about, the things that are topics of conversation, completely different. It's always shifting, always evolving. And Charlie was successful in his career and what he had built because he was willing to evolve. And I think, he's a millennial, I'm a millennial, we're exactly the same age, we're a couple months apart. That was something that I admired about him. I think that a lot of millennials make the mistake of, even when it's something as stupid as like, I refuse to not wear skinny jeans, like whatever. Stuff like that. I'm like, why are you so like obsessed with not evolving or not changing? Like, that's really important to me. I think that's why I've been able to be successful in my career, is I've changed my shows, right? Doing a pop culture entertainment news show that I started in 2019 would be so dead on arrival today. Like, that's not what our current climate in culture needs. Like, we need to be talking about these health issues. That's what it is right now. That's the moment. I was willing to rise to the moment and pivot what I was doing, because I kind of saw the writing on the wall there. So many people, they try to be in, media or whatever, and it's like they refuse to evolve. You are putting a timestamp on your career by doing that. You have to be willing to change.
Yeah. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Alex. We really appreciate you coming on.
You guys do a really great job. Amazing question asking and interviewing skills. I'm serious. Really, really good. Very impressive.
That's like the biggest compliment in the world coming from you. So
yeah, I'm very impressed. You can follow me at Real Alex Clark on Instagram, also Culture Apothecary, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Real Alex Clark on YouTube. You can watch the show as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.